Ladies, gentlemen, big birds. If you're questioning why I'm saying that, look in the comments. Look at Kenneth's picture. Anyway, I'm so excited because the gentleman I'm speaking with, this is the second time on the show, but he tricked us in the best way. Just popped a book release on us, and I'm so excited to kind of just dive into it, man. How are you tonight, Aaron M. Payne?
I am fantastic. And you're right. This is the second time here on your channel, and I am super excited to talk today about the book, booktube, how you've been doing. I'm so happy that you're back and doing these interviews now, because I know you've had a few, health things happening. So I'm glad to see you back. And, sticking around 8 p.m. because I'm always looking forward to it. When I'm walking the dog, usually I'm like, putting on my phone. Hey, here we go. More Beard of Darkness. So thank you so much for having me on tonight, and welcome back.
Dude, thank you. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, everything's been looking pretty good as far as that goes. And I hate when that happens, but at the same time, I build myself back, and I'm always going to come back to what I love. So I appreciate hearing the concern and the welcome. So coming into booktube, we'll start here. I've been starting in different places with interviews lately, but for your story, I think is going to be best to start off talking about the book. Okay. Falling into Oblivion. For those who aren't familiar with it. Yeah, there's that beauty, dude. That's so cool. How is it to hold that's an official copy? That's not even an art. That's the official.
This is the legit final version right here. And it don't even feel real yet. Honestly, I'm holding it in my hand, but it still does not feel like I wrote the thing, Like I open it up, I go back through it, I'm like, oh yeah, I wrote those words. And it took a long time to write those words, and it's surreal, to be honest.
So break it down for us real quick. Give us a little bit of a synopsis, an elevator pitch, and go into the genre, and just throw it at us.
Yeah, so Falling into Oblivion, as you can tell by the cover, it is a cyberpunk thriller, right? And this is a story about a detective trying to make ends meet for his family, right? And you as the reader, you're dropped into an ongoing investigation into somebody installing defective modifications into people that's causing permanent brain damage. And there's some twists and turns that happen and it fits a lot in terms of cyberpunk because it holds a lot of the same themes and ideas that you expect within the genre, while introducing some new things that I felt was a little bit fresh, like a cyber dragon in there, which I freaking love. So I love the genre itself. Cyberpunk is one of my favorite genres. I love reading inside of it. So when I came into this writing journey, like the only genre that I thought that I could write in just to start this thing off has to be cyberpunk, because it's my favorite genre to read, and it's my favorite genre to watch, play games. I was like, I have to write it in this genre, right? So that's a little bit about the book and a little bit about the genre. Not too, but pretty vague still. Pretty vague.
Well, I mean, I think that you're keeping it in a special place because it's not out quite yet. We're almost there, October 4th, right?
Yes, this Friday.
Yeah, that's exciting. So hearing a little bit of a synopsis, what people are going to get into when they dive into the novel, the genres. Believe it or not, your channel was the kind of introduction for me to look into cyberpunk, and it led me to talk to T.R. Napper. I hope to have him on, the guy Tim
Hawken.
And dude, his covers are absolutely nasty, but I had no idea who he was until I saw your interview with him. And then like Philip K. Dick, you've talked to. I think you've got that really cool special edition of Philip K. Dick, right?
Yeah. How do you remember all this, man? How do you remember all this?
My people, man, I know what it is. I check out your shelves, and it's kind of like I build mine upon those that I look up to. So that's really how it happens. But yeah, cyberpunk was, I really didn't even know what it was. And I still go back to what T.R. Napper says. He's like, it's technology, but kind of the slums of technology. Or the gritty technology. Would you agree with that? And if you do or don't, kind of give us your take on the cyberpunk genre and maybe your take on it.
Yeah, I think T.R. Napper said it pretty well there in terms of like a really easy way to describe it. It's just saying high tech, low life, right?
Yeah.
In terms of having a genre that's full of technology while at the same time being in a dystopian setting, right? Where we have access to technology that's, pretty close to now what we have today. Some things are actually out now that was written, in a futuristic setting. And that in parallel with a city and a society that's just not doing so well, right? In terms of the slums,
Mm.
grit, crime. It's just pairing these two things together in a really cool setting. One that's full of atmosphere as well. I think you can kind of see from my cover as well is that one thing that's pretty common is a neon kind of atmosphere or a aesthetic.
Yes.
And I freaking love neon, as you can tell by my background here, my
Yeah, dude.
and that's just one little cherry on top for me in terms of the aesthetic. That's just a nice to have in addition to all the tropes and themes that you can find within the genre in terms of focusing on the human condition. What does it mean to be human? Where's
Mm.
the line drawn in terms of machine versus organic, right? In terms of um, AI as well, the emergence of technology and where we're going in the future and how we're going to react to this advancement in technology, right? So
Yeah. To
there's a
me,
lot
like
to unpack in there.
when you talk about the human condition, all of a sudden that popped in my head, and you covered as soon as you said it was like a genre that clearly can portray the human condition versus technology,
Hmm.
and it's very relevant today. And
It's
and
very
I think,
relevant.
yeah, I see so many different things, and I'm behind, and I don't know if I'll ever catch up. But every single day, I find something that's like, is that seriously something we can do now? Are we confusing real humans with like AI? It's absolutely nuts to me, and I'd lie straight to your face if I said I could tell the difference. I couldn't. So it's kind of scary. It's really
Hmm.
scary. But diving into it and discovering and researching, learning, gaining knowledge about it, I think is the way to. I don't want to say combat it because I think that there are positives. I don't know where they are. I feel like they exist somewhere, but I know that there's lots of negatives.
There can be a lot of negatives. There's also a lot of positives too in terms of the advancement of technology, right? I mean, us talking right now through this live stream is something that's 10 years ago, even beyond that, wasn't even like a thought in people's mind in terms of talking to other strangers around the world. I know
Yeah,
I
dude.
think you're in Ohio, right? Which isn't too
Ohio.
far,
Yep.
but at the
You're in
same
Florida.
time, yeah, I'm in Florida.
Yeah.
So
My mom
luckily,
lives
we
there,
just missed that hurricane that just came by.
dude.
Thank goodness, because
My
that
my mom
hurricane
lives in Ocala,
crazy.
Florida, and she had a much easier time. It's crazy. Our power was out for like 3 days. Her power didn't go out. I'm like, I'm in Ohio, dude. How in the hell did my experience with this kind of tropical weather traveling exceed yours, mom? Like, anyway, it's just really crazy to think about that. But I'm glad that it missed you, man. Your power didn't go out.
No, we were 100% power the entire time. The worst thing that we got was just a little bit of wind, which it
Mm.
was really windy, but like all the wreckage and the destruction that I saw like in North Carolina, especially,
Oh yeah,
and like some northern parts of Florida too. Like it was hit hard. It's very
scary.
unfortunate.
It
It's
is. It
it's
is
also
because
it shows that Mother Nature ain't playing, right?
never, dude. It's like if you doubt the capabilities of Mother Nature, like you're only going to doubt them for so long because she will show you what's going on, man.
Hmm.
And it's incredible. It's a force to be reckoned with. Kenneth, did any crime noir? Kenneth, you're reading my mind, man. That was very close to what I was just about to ask, but I saw that comment, and that's a great question. Did any crime noir influence your writing?
That is a really good question. And in terms of the amount of noir or detective or police procedural type of books that I read before starting to write this book was one. I only read one book, and that was actually by Tim Hawkin, which is going to be Thrill Switch. That's the only detective type of novel that I read, which is kind of funny that I wrote a book from a detective's point of view. And that alone took some research into figuring out how a leadership system works in a typical, police department. Who
Yeah.
reports to who, and who is assigned to what. How is a case assigned to a detective? Like, I had to Google all these things and just research and go through like a command structure, almost like a hierarchy,
Yeah.
like a tree map in terms of, you have your top person and then going down who's in charge of all these people, right? So I was trying to get immersed into that, so when I'm talking to people and talking the lingo a little bit, it makes sense as well.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's also in a fictional city and fictional rules and laws, so I had a little bit of wiggle room as well, which I wanted that in a way to serve as a buffer for me in terms of not being in the police enforcement myself, but also it's in a fictional setting, right? In terms of this could potentially be laws in the future that can be real,
Ooh,
right? So,
yeah.
mhm.
I like.
So
So, is there a like particular reason that you wanted to do the detective type of police procedural? Was there something that inspired that, or was it something? Hey, I think that the story that I've thought of best will be represented through a story like that.
exactly, yeah. The way that the story came into my brain was through one scene in particular, which is the very beginning scene of the book, like the first
You
chapter
running, where he's
when
running.
we're running. And that's the very first scene that came into my mind. And I was like, I need to write this down. So I wrote down maybe like 500 words. I was like, oh my God, I love this. I love writing. Yeah, like, this is so much fun. And then from there, that's when it transformed into a whole on detective story, because I love detective story. Even though I never read one, I love
Mm.
the media. I love
Yeah,
police procedurals like True Detective on HBO. Some awesome,
absolutely,
awesome TV media right there. So
hundred
that's kind of
percent.
where I got some inspiration, as well as being, in the trenches, being in the grit with humanity, right? Seeing it for what it is.
And I
And
think
that's
a
kind of,
detective kind of has
mhm,
a good. That's in front of him. It has, you have a lot of opportunity as a writer to, at least in my, thinking of this, to portray that human condition, what you see every day, these examples that you see, from poor or crime committing, gritty, I don't know, kind of like a gritty setting. You can just imagine in your head those type of people that are going through a hard time, perhaps addiction, crime, this and that. I think it allows the opportunity to put a spotlight on the human condition. And I
mhm.
feel like that's what you're saying.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So the detective story was kind of like a vessel for me to look at what it means to be human. And one thing that is really a huge theme for me is the value of family, and the value of trying to provide and do your ultimate best to make sure your family is protected and provided for, while being in the trenches of this city that just wants to put you down, right?
Dude,
And
I can.
that's really the one of my central themes, or something that I really wanted to capture, was the essence of, you know a, a family man trying to do his best for his family, making sure that they are there to survive and also thrive. And it's really hard. It's really hard in this city, because you'll see why. It's just so many things say, you know
It
what? No, you're not going outside today. Okay.
is
Well,
is
yeah.
is not giving spoilers hard. Like, now that you're on that
Oh,
side,
it's
is it
very
hard,
hard.
like to not dive into things that you're like, oh, I maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Luckily, there's been no spoilers said just yet. Thank
Nah,
goodness.
no, you're right. No, I haven't. I wasn't thinking that or saying that at all. But I can just imagine like having a story out there that you're excited about. It's on the cusp of being
Mhm.
released, and trying not to just dive in too deep. That
I
would bug
know
me.
it's hard. It is very hard. But
When Go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna go. It's funny sometimes with the internet, guys, and he knows this. I don't ever mean to cut people off, so if I do, I'm very sorry. The internet lags, and you think something's off and or
What
over,
the
and,
heck,
and you
Matt,
just
man? How
right, dude.
dare
I'm just
you?
the rudest. I'm just the rudest. So starting your booktube channel, and we're not going to really. We've done that. We've talked about the booktube channel. That's not where I'm going, but starting it was. You know what? I'm going to hold that question. I've got a better one real quick. Insert.
Okay.
How long did it take you? When did you start this novel?
What's funny is I started writing this a month after we talked.
No doubt.
Yeah.
You wrote it that quick?
It took me 3 months to write draft
Holy shit.
one. But it's not, again, this is not a chunky book, right? This, for
Yeah, but it's
everyone
not a
that's
novella,
watching,
dude.
it's 70,000 words, like 69,000 something words. So it's not a massive book at all, but it did take me 3 months to write the first draft. And I had a few beta readers, and thank goodness for beta readers, by the way. They helped me out
Yeah.
so much in terms
Thank you
of
for saying that.
refining my work. Like, this is the first attempt at writing anything in my entire life, besides something I wrote when I was like 8 years old, right?
Mhm.
And beta readers are a godsend. They sent me so many amazing feedback in terms of, fixing up verbiage here. You use a particular word way too many times in this paragraph. There was one paragraph where I found the same word like 10 times. I was like, I read through this myself like 5 or 6 times, and I didn't spot this at all. So beta readers are amazing. They give you fantastic feedback, and they're there to kind of like, help you and be there for you, which is fantastic. So that's one thing that I loved about, building this booktube channel from the beginning, was that I was building the support system without even knowing it, which was crazy.
Yeah.
So
I did not expect you to say that, man. I honestly expected, like, because for me, and this isn't a secret, like I eventually plan to write a novel, and I'm kind of gaining that knowledge now, and I've started somewhat, but not even close to the pace that you did. So I expected to hear that you started this before the channel and all that. So I'm just kind of trying to think around this this answer. So 3 months, dude. 70,000 words is what I would say. So for instance, my wife loves Freedom McFadden, who writes kind of like psychological thrillers, and that's what I would say every one of her novels are. 70,000. So it's not a short book, and it takes her, a couple weeks to get through it. So it's impressive.
I think it's short in our community. Fantasy readers,
Yeah,
especially, those chunky books, man. Like Josh Walker. You see his book Exile? Oh my god! Like, I have it right here. That
it
thing
is
is a
gorgeous.
chunky. It's gorgeous. Yes, it's just that's a big book.
Well, I think that holding yourself to, or not, and you're, well, tell me your experience once I say this. Like, you didn't hold yourself to a word count expectation. Did you just kind of tell the story you wanted to tell, and
Mhm.
it was what it was, or did you kind of aim for a word count?
I aimed for anything under 100,000.
Okay. How
For
come?
a few reasons. One was the cost factor involved
Mm,
with chunky books, getting it edited. Because when you go through it, right, you have your developmental editor, which I had Sarah Korn, who did a fantastic job.
she's the gangster.
And then I had Dom, from Dominish Books, do the proofread afterwards, and less words for them to read, and also charge you. But also, I also wanted to do a audiobook, and audiobooks are very expensive as well for
Yeah.
chunky books. So, I it's always been like, I love audiobooks.
Hmm.
I consume most of my reading through audiobooks, so
Same.
it was my goal, my dream, to have an audiobook. I mean, it's freaking amazing to hold a book in my hand, yes, but also to have a person who is experienced in narration to
Yeah.
bring the story to life, like through um, dialogue, through the tone of voice. So I found a guy, and he is knocking it out of the park, and that's one reason, right? Is to save money, but also I read a book that's not intimidating. Right, this is a book that's looks like you can take it
Yeah.
on within a couple days, and that's one of my goals, was just write something that wasn't so intimidating to new potential readers. Is that, what, I'll check out that book because it's only less than 300 pages. Why not? All right.
Yeah. And that presents, I think, kind of what I'm hearing is a marketing opportunity. You put this book out, and you're right. For those of us who pick up a book because it's 800 pages, it's also equally as important after one of those to pick up that it's 70,000 words, right? That's a couple hundred pages, 300 pages, because it
Mhm.
gets us through those slumps. It gets us kind of, I don't know. After I read Empire of Silence, especially, I had to take some time to kind of clear my mind. And those type of books were, I have to say, equally as important for me, equally as fun, equally as meaningful, equally as I don't know, as far as the experience goes. So I can totally see why that would happen. It's Rob Lee here, by the way, dropping
Pathlighter. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Pathfinder, of course. That was so good. Man, yeah. So I can't wait for book 2, but I wasn't able to dive in to performances of a death metal bard as an arc. I just didn't have the time, but he sent me the physical today. I did a little short for him, and I cannot wait to dive into that, dude. It just sounds like the best idea.
And that cover too, man. Oh my goodness.
I looked at the formatting and the illustrations on the inside too. Great job, Rob. I think that it looks beautiful. It's very professional. I thought I seen a question over here. Maybe I didn't. We'll look in a minute. What's up, dude? Ryan Skeffington's in the house, dude.
Oh, I'm reading something by him right now.
Uh-oh.
And it might be a little something that's a sequel that I'm reading through.
I'm excited for that.
No, it's going good so far. It's going real good.
Dude, I have no question. Just based off how much I love book 1, I cannot wait. Molly, what's going on? Thank you for being here. It's so good to see you.
Dark Bloom.
Yes, yeah. It's good. Dude, I'm stacking up the spooky. I'm going to get more read in October than I think I've read in like 4 or 5 years.
That's awesome, man.
Starting with Dark Bloom. Dark Bloom. Us reviewers have so many book titles going through our heads that we feel like and second guess ourselves. All right. So when was it in your life that you found that literature was very important to you? Who were some of those foundational authors or books for you that kind of set you on the journey that leads you here?
That is another good question. I think for a lot of people around our age-ish, Harry Potter was a pretty good influence of getting into that series and getting into that magical world to just whisk you away into some crazy setting. Also, I'm pulling it up right now on my phone. A little series by Anthony Horowitz called The Gatekeepers.
Oh, crap. I have to write that down.
It's a middle grade book that blew me away as a kid. And I'm trying to pull it up right now so I can show you the cover. There you go.
Please do. Ryan Skeffington. That? Oh, okay. There we go.
Raven's
yes, I've seen that somewhere.
So this series right here, like, just transported me, and
is it an adult?
It's I would say it's definitely YA.
Okay.
And I read through that. I read through I think the first 4. It's a 5-book series. What's kind of funny is that the last book in the series is called Oblivion.
Oh, nice.
And so I thought that was kind of funny. But I read through that. I really enjoyed it. And then I really just stopped reading for the longest time until about maybe 2.5, maybe 3 years ago when I started picking up audiobooks. And that's when I got into the Lightbringer series by Brent Weeks. Destroyed that one, like just book after book after book. I just destroyed it through audio. And then I went into a little something called Way of Kings.
Yeah.
By Mr. Brando Sando, and again destroyed that, and now I'm caught up. Freaking loved that series. I still love that series. On that series.
Mm-hmm. You ready?
I did a whole re-listen to the first 4 books.
Again, that like 45 hours per audio book?
It took me 4 months. 4 months of just straight listening to Brandon Sanderson, Michael Kramer, and Kate Redding.
Ooh. Yeah, dude, they do so good because I've started it like 8,500 times. I just haven't followed through because it's freaking intimidating, dude. It's huge. I'm just like, man, I don't have time to get to Brandon. It's like Brandon Sanderson doesn't need me to talk about his book, so I'm going to get to these other ones first. But for my experience, I'm excited for it. Very, very excited. So, Rob, dude, I also have to say, man, the maybe I already said it. I don't know, brain fart, but the formatting and the illustration on the inside, dude. I talk about this because a lot of, well, we all know that these self-setting goals, I guess you will, for self-pub it's anything that you want. It's self-pub.
Mhm.
So when you find that it's not the bare minimum, or even the middle of the road, I think that it's going to be something special. And seeing your book on my Kindle as well, the formatting's wonderful. Talk about your cover artist, though.
Oh, yes. So this thing right here, I am blown away by.
It's
Absolutely.
awesome.
So this was a process to get to this point.
Talk
And
about it.
I first went down the route of Fiverr,
Okay.
and I did hire somebody and actually got a illustration. And I found out afterwards that AI was used in the process of creating it.
Yeah.
And as you know, in our community, that is just something I wanted to completely avoid. I did not want to use the work of AI at all. The cover, it looked okay. I just wasn't in love with it.
Mhm.
And one, it was using AI, so I was just not about that.
That's character,
So
guys. That's
I
character.
steered away from that, and I decided, what's fun? I sent this guy pictures of somebody on Instagram to use as inspiration for my cover.
Mhm.
And I was like, you know what? Let me just reach out to the person I took screenshots of art. Let me just reach out to them and see if they are open to commissions. And she was, and I was just blown away that I got an email response saying, "Oh yeah, I'll work on that for you." And it was
That
Ninja
is so
Joe
cool.
Art, Ninja
Ninja Joe
Joe Art
Arts.
on
That's
Instagram.
something very important to me lately, and it's always been, but more so lately, knowing what goes into that. It's like, uh, again, say that again. It's linking them below. So Ninja Joe Arts
Yeah, Ninja Joe underscore art
underscore arts.
on
Okay.
Instagram. She has the majority of her art is cyberpunk related, and it's fantastic. It fit exactly my vision. And what's really cool is that the image that I sent her to use as inspiration in terms of the dragon
Mhm.
falling with the guy right here also falling came
Yeah.
from an image that related to Lord of the Rings with Gandalf falling after the Balrog. So
Yes.
that's what that scene was inspired by, which
I never
came,
caught that.
yeah.
I
But
like how that
it's
was an
it's the
influence.
reverse though. It's the dragon chasing our boy right here instead of the opposite.
I love that. And I'm glad that I looked at your cover and I never had it. Like, I had no idea the influence for the cover.
Hmm.
So it was cool to see kind of, and first I didn't necessarily think it was a dragon. Now it's like, it's obvious, once you dive into the story a little bit and relook at the cover, but the eyes go straight to it. And it's like,
Hmm.
that's a creature in which I cannot wait to read. And writing creatures, was it something that you kind of, was that easy for you? Was it not easy? Did you find any part of that process particularly hard?
Um, the creature part actually was not that difficult for me. The most difficult part for me in this entire book was dialogue.
Mm,
It's just getting dialogue out that sounded natural and also something that the character that is unique to the character so they have their own voice.
mm.
That was my hardest part is to make each character sound unique and not the same. Like when you're reading through them, I tried my best for you. If you just chose a random dialogue, like without seeing who it is, I wanted the dialogue to tell the reader who was saying it. And that was the
Yeah.
hardest part, was just figuring a way to get to that point.
Mm.
Um, so
Absolutely.
the character, I mean the creatures was not the hardest part for me. That's actually a lot of fun. Was just kind of detailing them and like talking about how horrifying they are, and
Yeah.
seeing these things kind of up close. It's like, no, I don't
No,
want to. I don't want to be near this. Get me away from this thing.
absolutely. What in my experience, it's not. It's kind of the opposite of the experience you have. It's the formatting of dialogue. I know that there's probably rules that you go through every time, but for some reason, the character speaks to me, and I can differentiate characters and their voice and kind of their quirks. For some, it's the formatting. Now, how did you tackle that?
The formatting
Yeah,
itself.
yeah.
Um, so I used a formatting tool
Okay.
called Atticus,
Oh, okay.
which I think is pretty popular in
I've heard
terms
of it, but I didn't
of.
know that that was a formatting tool.
the indie community. Some people use it as a word processor, but I've heard horror stories of using it as a word processor because
Hmm.
sometimes you write 2,000 words, you go back into it, those 2,000 words are gone. Like you can't
Uh-oh.
find them. So I did not write anything in Atticus. I only copy and pasted to Atticus and did my formatting in there to get it to like the actual, what you see inside.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, I didn't go too crazy with the formatting into it because in the future, I do want to offer some crazier version of this story with some really cool formatting.
I like
But
that.
that's so I didn't go like this right here. Like you just have your chapter title and then the chapter itself. So nothing too crazy in there.
It's very pleasing to the eye. First, I want to say that it's like I'm not overwhelmed. There is a science to not overwhelming the reader's eye with
Hmm.
paragraphs and stuff like that with formatting, and it's great
Yeah,
when you see that come through.
it was a lot of trial and error too. Of just like moving things down pixel by pixel to see, going from sentence to sentence, not too big of a space, but still enough space to where it feels like you're making progress with the book. Because this is still, I wanted to also get to a point with this being a cyberpunk thriller, is that when
Mm.
you have this and you're reading the physical edition, is that I tried to make the margins on the sides kind of narrow so that
Yeah.
you feel that you're turning the pages really quickly.
Yes.
So it's a page turner in a sense. That was kind of my thought process behind that.
I think that's brilliant, and I think that's a huge part of me personally. I am a fan of short chapters for that reason. Long chapters I'll read, but I feel like towards the end it's a little bit of a slog. I don't know. It's when is the end of this chapter? Not that I'm not going to read the
Hmm.
next one, but for some reason the mind is looking for a beginning and an end to happen somewhat quickly. I don't know. For me, at least, that's exactly right. But I think that these thought process going into that is beautiful, man, because when a page turner hits your hands, there's nothing better than that.
It feels like you're making progress and you feel good after reading a chapter. Like, oh, I can read one more. I can read one more. The next
Yes,
one's only a couple pages. I'll read one more. Right.
1000%. And going back to you telling me that this took 3 months, the writing process, man, uh, I've heard 1,000 different, you know, individual writing processes, and I would love for you to dive into yours. Are you a pantser? Are you an outliner? And kind of go through it.
I would describe myself as a pantser now, absolutely.
Okay,
But I have bullet points in terms of big things that's going to happen. Right.
sure.
I know the ending, I know the middle, and I know the beginning, and I know a few sequences between each of those. Besides that, all the details, all what he sees, the character, what he sees, what he experiences, what he goes through, is just on the spot in my mind. But then towards the end, I go back and make sure that the pacing is right. 'Cause that's a huge thing, is to make
Mm.
sure that your pacing is good so that you're not putting someone into like a slump of like, when's something going to happen? You don't want the reader to think, when's something big going to happen here?
Mm.
So I made myself an Excel spreadsheet where I listed a 0 to 10 scale in terms of my intensity rating per chapter.
Oh,
In
that's a good
terms of
idea.
each chapter was either a 1 to a 10 in terms of intensity. And I put that for every single chapter, all 27 chapters. And so I can see my gradual increase to chapter 26 of being like 10, right? 10
Yeah.
intensity. And then slowly a die off for, the very last chapter.
I love that, dude. I've never heard that before, and that's in the notes, dude. I love that. It makes so much sense, and I think that that would be a very useful tool.
Because
Um,
you can visually see, I mean, it's all subjective in my mind in terms of you can visually see, where you're expecting kind of the highlights to hit for a reader in terms of, oh, something big's happening here. And then you have a little bit of a dip period so they can kind of chill and relax and be with the character.
oh yes, because I think the time that you spend with the character ultimately builds those climax moments. You know, if you have a sense of okay, something's about to happen, I have an idea of this character. I'm making guesses in my mind of how this is going to go, and it's
Hmm.
nice to sometimes be right and also sometimes get a twist.
Hmm.
So kind of going back a little bit, the where I asked you about your novel. Is there a set amount of books that you have in mind for this series?
Before I say that, Pants Gang Rise Up, Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, Timothy.
Yes.
He's he's a representative. He's actually the CEO of Pants Gang. So he's here representing, and when he finds one of his, he goes nuts.
Did you read his novella, by the way?
I have not read his novella.
A
I cannot
Whisper That
wait, dude.
Replaced God. Yeah, I loved that thing. So
We were just talking with Timothy or Tim McKay's release live stream we did, and he was talking about how the novella is doing so wonderful right now, and I'm so happy, and I'm very excited to read it. I'm a huge fan of the trilogy, so cannot wait. So you've read it?
I read the novella, loved it. I thought it was the strangest, weirdest thing I've read in a long time, and I was so down for it.
Hell yeah!
I want more of it now. I want more of that novella, that character. So if
Can't wait.
so now I'm excited to get into his main series because I haven't read any of his main series just yet. And you know what's funny is that Timothy Wolf is the very first author to ever send me a book in my
get outta
booktube
here.
community.
Me too, man. I told him that the other day. Yeah, he is that dude. He is
No
that
way.
guy. He is 100% community based kind of. He's the best. I got a book from I believe because he sent his books through Silverstone, right? Silverstone Books. The indie book. He unfortunately went out of business, but hella love for him.
Yep.
But I got a book package one day. It was from him, and so he's that guy. He 100% represents his community in the best way.
Go Tim.
Yeah, Tim Gang represent.
But to answer your question,
yes,
it's going to be a planned 4-book series, but with potential novellas and short stories in between, and also before as well. But there's 4 books for a reason, which I won't say here, but it does deal with the title of the series itself. But I have 4 books, 4 kind of grand scheming plans for each book. Each book has its own theme and goal in mind, with just being book number 1, of course. So
we're gonna corner him into a spoiler, guys, eventually.
But book 2 is in the works right now. I got 4,000 words done already. I've been taking my time with this one though, because I've been, of course, getting geared up for the release of this right on Friday. So I've been taking my time with book 2.
Now, the last time I looked, the pre-orders were coming in. What number are you at, man? I think it's impressive.
I think I'm at 49 right now for ebooks, and I'm very fortunate to also have some buddies and some people buy signed copies on my website too. So I think that's like 10 more. So 59 books so far.
When I go to bed tonight, that's a bookmarked page for me. I'm going to send my order through as well, because I am absolutely going to I do. That's my favorite thing, man, is having and representing people who love what I love. So I'm so happy. I was so happy when you dropped this piece of news on us, because you said you had something to tell us. I was like, there might be a book, but I think it's not that. So when it was that, it was very, very exciting. What was if you had to give somebody a piece of advice that was, beginning this journey to self-publish, for you, having done, your debut novel and pretty much have released, not quite yet, but you've done most of, what you need to do, what would you say to that person?
I think the biggest thing now, looking back, is building a platform first is huge in terms of getting your name out there. Because hundreds of books are pushed on Amazon every single day, and a lot of people come into it thinking that I'm gonna write a book and put it on Amazon and it's gonna sell. Right? That's only a quarter of the battle. The rest of the battle is getting people to be aware of your book and actually seeing it, getting invested into it, and then eventually clicking the buy button. Right? So I think building a platform, for me, I didn't even realize I was doing this, is when I was starting my booktube channel and getting in the indie space, right? And the first indie book that I read was The Fall by Ryan Cahill.
Yeah.
and he is a really good model to also look at in terms of getting
Marketing.
out huge books, marketing, but also getting people invested and just hooked as well. All right, in terms of offering that free novella, in terms of just signing up for his newsletter, you get
Yeah.
a free novella that's action packed, 90 pages of just pure action. So he is going to be, I think, a huge influence for future indie authors breaking into space. So building a platform, right? Getting into the indie community, reading a ton as well, and just being here with the community and just talking with other fellow indie authors. I think it's going to be once you have those things, you'll have a huge kind of leg up, making sure people are aware of your book. Like I'm so mind blown that people are excited to read this book and have
Yeah.
already read. Right, I had like 90 people sign up for an arc,
Yeah, dude.
and it's just I'm just like, what? Mind
How
blowing.
how did it feel also getting, I know we share this, one of our favorite authors, Christopher Rocchio, to kind of throw his blurb on there, dude.
Mind blown.
Yeah.
Insane. Yeah, it's right here. Christopher Rocchio. Right there.
Uh-huh.
Hold on. Let's see.
I seen it the other day, well, a couple weeks ago, whenever you posted that he did it, and it was absolute. I told you in the comments, I believe it was like anything that Chris tells me to read, 100% I'm grabbing it. And I know that there's so many other people out there like that.
Okay. So yeah, that
Good.
was mind blowing to get him to one, read the book, and then also give me a fantastic blur because like he's one of my favorite authors of all time. And now to have him with a blurb on my book, I'm just like, what? Mind blown.
Yeah, that's
Right.
incredible,
So
dude. I want to say huge congratulations on that because I know if that was me, I would feel it'd just be incredibly cool.
when I went
Bryce,
into it, I reached out and I just said, if you don't ask, you don't get. Right.
yes,
So I was like, what's the harm in just asking? Just see what's up, Mr.
exactly.
Rocchio, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I remember that time we drank beers and had an interview. I have my book coming out. I can absolutely see how that went. And I think it's inspiring for people to hear that because I'm a huge I love that message. If you want to ask somebody, if you're inspired by somebody, if you want to do something like an interview, which was something very intimidating, and can you relate to that? Were interviews intimidating for you at first?
Oh, absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
the worst thing they can say is no, or like
Mhm.
some other iteration of no, maybe the worst iteration, maybe give you an fu, I guess. I've never gotten that, but
No.
taking that chance, just 99% of the time it pays off, at least from my personal experience.
Also, thank you, Caden. I got your book right here,
I'm not
right
that
there.
far down. I'm slow,
Elegy,
guys.
the one you have on there, Love and Lore.
Yeah, Leavenor. Oh yeah, dude, I forgot that's him. By the way, it's not fair, man. I see all these people popping up on booktube, just thousands of freaking subscribers in like 4 days. I'm just, you know what? We're not friends anymore, Caden. I'm just joking. No, that's incredible. I love that. Legendary blurb. And of course it was.
Bloop.
Ryan says, Aaron, what it's like knowing you have the best hair of all authors to have ever existed. I guess we're going to answer that. That's a question I threw up, so I guess you can answer it.
I don't know. I think it's funny when people
There's quite
comment
the
on that.
contrast on the screen right now. you know, uh, you know, I don't have to do my hair in the morning, so haha.
I'm just keeping my fingers crossed to keep it as long as possible right now.
Dude, it's fine. I tell the story. I had buddies that were telling me at like 15 because I was like shaving my head at 16 because it was going back, and I didn't believe them. I should have. They were just on my side telling me the truth. Anywho,
Mhm.
Rizak, I hope I'm saying that right. Aaron, I hope you can publish it in Spanish.
I mean, if it comes to that point, absolutely.
Espanol.
I don't even know where to begin that process, to be honest.
Mm,
I
that
think another person asked me if there's going to be translated to Spanish as well.
for a debut
So,
novel for people to be interested in, for it to become in a different language, even if it's, I think that's incredible, dude. Um, another reason to be proud of what you're doing. I know it certainly inspires me and what I want to do. Um, so on the 4th, how do you think you'll feel waking up that day?
It's going to be again surreal.
Yeah.
It's actually going to be, available to people to buy, which is insane. I'm also doing a little kind of live stream kind of partay
Hell
on
yeah.
the 3rd with some other authors as well. So it's going to be a fun time on the 3rd, because on the 4th, I'm actually my wife is throwing me a little book launch party with our buddies down here.
That's awesome.
So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm happy that my friends are also excited to read the book, because I know some indie authors talk about how some of their friends or even family could, not be that interested in reading their book, but my friends were ecstatic to read it. So I was
Wow.
like, thank you so much. So
Yeah.
they're there to support me, which is awesome to see. And it's gonna be a fun time.
It's also good too. Like, I think it's good to have non-friends read your book, give you that constructive criticism, but it's like
Mm-hmm.
have those people on your side read it, that you can also trust it and kind of just be happy for you at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
A very intricate part. So what are you working on at the moment?
Book 2 I'm working on in the Tendrils of Chrome series. I'm working on that right now. It's been so much fun. Getting back into writing finally, because the past, since I finished draft 1, it was just going into draft 2, draft 3, draft 4, draft 5.
Oh wow,
Right.
you went through that many drafts.
Oh yeah.
Holy crap.
It was
How
a
many
lot.
did you go through?
I think I went down to about draft 7.
Okay.
And really, when I say draft 7, I mean the changes from draft 1 to draft 7 are pretty dramatic. I mean, there's entire new chapters in draft 7, entirely new characters in draft 7. Like I added a new character in a
Wow.
month before I sent it to beta readers. I'm sorry, not beta readers, ARC readers, because Sarah Korn gave me some really good feedback in terms of introducing a new character. I was like, that's a fantastic idea. I'm going to introduce this new character who is a fantastic character that I'm really excited to write more of, because she is so cool. A
Awesome.
dual wielding hypercoil master of the sword. So she'll have 2 of these things right here. So that was so much fun to write.
That's righteous, dude.
So
I love that. So the ins and outs of kind of doing this your first time is when I'm picking up and writing down, dude. I think it's so, I think it's intricate to a lot of reasons people watch the kind of videos you and I both make. It's all about learning. And I think a lot of people who want to write, I'm speaking from my personal opinion, inspired by what you're doing, dude, because it takes cojones to finally take that stride to say, you know what, I'm not just, and I haven't yet, but to finally take that step and say, I'm doing this, I'm going to go through with it, we're publishing this, must have been a huge decision. And if you would kind of go through that decision, when did you know you wanted to publish this?
when I first got into it, really, and I was also Josh right here. Yeah, that book should be with you here pretty soon,
Dude,
buddy.
he's all over the place, man. His videos are great. I love them.
So I originally came into this thinking I would write a short story, and then after writing that first sequence, that first chapter, I was like, okay, this can be so much more, right? And that's when it just expanded and blew up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What are we seeing here?
Yeah, Liechtenstein. I hope I'm saying that right. I just saw that Beard was live, and I'm glad I tuned in. I haven't read your books yet, but Aaron, but I just read a quick read about the plot for Oblivion, and I'm excited to pick it up. That's incredible.
I'm
Thanks
excited
for popping in
too, man.
The plot reminds me of Burning Chrome. I don't know what that is, so I'll have to get some context.
That's by William Gibson.
Is it another one that you have on your shelf? I know this name because of you.
It's a collection of short stories in Burning Chrome. One of them is Johnny Mnemonic, which you might have seen that movie before with Keanu Reeves.
I'll check it out now.
Yeah, that movie is
Cyberpunk
wild.
is something I need to dive. It's another rabbit hole for me. I'm very excited.
Have you seen Blade Runner?
I'm part of it, not the whole thing. Like the very beginning, and I don't even like truly remember. I just kind of remember the kind of the neon lights, weird people, just kind of a futuristic feel, and then I shut it off.
Yeah, I think that's one you need to have a little bit of time to kind of just actually let it sink in and digest. It's not like a Marvel action film where you're going to get constant action and quippy
Thank
jokes all the
God.
time.
I'm not a
It's
huge fan of that.
deep themes, and it's a slow burn, absolutely slow burn. So I think that kind of pushes some people away. But I love it.
So that kind of leads into one of the last questions I have for you, the themes. What kind of themes did you find important to dive into, and can readers expect to? Is it shallow, or is you got it kind of deep with it?
This one, since it is a cyberpunk thriller, all the themes and tropes that you do expect in the cyberpunk genre are there. They're totally there. You get hit with it immediately. The very first sentence talks about it raining. That's one of the stereotypes in cyberpunk genre, is that it's always raining.
It was an atmosphere right off the rip.
Yeah. So I wanted to lead in with that, but my focus was on one theme, which was family and love, doing the best thing you can do as a father, trying to make ends meet and provide, in a city that is just harsh, brutal, and you really have to fight to survive and thrive. So that's one of the themes I really just wanted to focus on immensely. With book 2 kind of shifting a little bit, each book in my mind is going to have its own singular theme.
Ooh, I like that.
Where the first book is all about family, which is going to still remain consistent throughout the series because he's a family man and he wants to provide because he loves them, right? But the theme outside of that is going to change and grow and advance a little bit into book 2. So, of course, this book you're going to get dystopian, right? You're going to have societal difference between the haves and the have-nots. You're going to have high technology. You're going to have low life. You're going to have rampant gangs kind of roaming the streets. You're going to have, of course, a city that's just bleeds chaos and destruction, and just there's a lot that I wanted to focus on.
That you reiterate that point that I relate to so much, and I'm sure you do too. That's why you're writing it, is that the head of the family guy, the family man that would do anything for his family, dude. That is very relatable, and there's so many people that are going to relate to that.
Yeah, that's one I wanted to focus on because it's very home to me as well. And in terms of me reading, like, I haven't read a lot of stories where it's just a dad just trying to make sure that that he can make sure his daughter can go to a school, right? Because in this world, you got to pay to go to school. You got to pay to go to a good school, and he wants to provide that future, right? So
I love that. It speaks on morals and values that the readers are going to relate with, and that's very important, I think, in any book. I can think of so many, for instance, like Michael R. Miller's Ascendant. I don't know why that keeps coming to mind as you explain your book, but it does. It's like,
what's funny about Michael R. Miller? He kind of helped sparked the dragon itself.
No way.
Because in my interview with him, I had a random intrusive thought that said, I just asked him, when are we going to get sci-fi dragons? When are we going to have dragons in space?
That's next level questions, dude.
And that was just like, I want to see some dragons in space. And he pointed me to a series, which I forget the name of it though, but the book cover is intense looking. It looks insane. And there is a book with dragons in space. And that's when I got my mind going. I was like, I want to see a cyberpunk dragon. I don't think I've ever seen a cyberpunk dragon in all the content that I've read or watched. So I was like, I'm gonna make that myself.
I love that.
So that's
Your
where I
your
came into play.
your brain tweaked a little bit, and you're like, hold on, there's a concept that I need that I haven't seen, and I love those fresh ideas. Caden's waiting for William Gibson to throw the blurb up. What do you think about that?
I mean, that would be insane. I want to get one from T.R. Napper, Tim Hawkin as well, because I think they're also becoming huge influences in the cyberpunk genre as well with their work, especially T.R. Napper. His books are,
Dude,
award-winning books that really explore heavy topics and heavy themes in the same genre.
because he's been
cyberpunk.
through those themes. I'm sure you talked to him. It's like he's witnessed a lot of the themes that he puts in his books, dude, and they're deep, man. They're not light and cozy.
Mm-hmm.
Which one? Neon Leviathan. That's the one that I have. Full of those short stories that are quick punches to the throat.
Quick. Yeah, I've only read 36 Streets, and I really enjoyed that one.
That's one I need to pick up. I hear so many wonderful things about it. Man, honestly, the cyberpunk genre just sounds like you take to me, and I could be wrong. This is just my take. You take some fantasy, you take modern living, you throw a little bit of future in it. You give the guy some tattoos on his face that I can relate with. I've got tattoos, right? And it's good versus evil in a dressed up different way, with some tropes that I guess are typical for cyberpunk, which I'll get more familiar with. But I'm very, very excited to kind of dive into the world that influenced you.
I'm excited for you to dive a little bit deeper into it because there's a lot of cool, flashy things in there as well that gets your high octane action, that gets your blood pumping, while at the same time introducing themes that make you think as well.
That's
And
so important.
I love genres that do that. And what's cool is that cyberpunk is a genre, but it's also it's a whole spectrum as well. There's a lot of where you can go within cyberpunk. Like Caden saying, cyberpunk is peak. I know he's working on a little cyberpunk project as well, which is really cool. And also, Kieran as well, that I think you're talking to tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. Yep.
It has a little cyberpunk project going on as
well.
Yeah,
it's really going to be a nice twist because he's not got anything out yet. So it's a nice talk with somebody that, well, we've had something planned for a while and things keep coming up, and we're there. And I get to speak with somebody who's doing the damn thing in the middle of it.
Yeah, he's been giving me a little bit of a snippet here and there of his ongoing work, which sounds really cool.
He's another guy. It's just like the community type dude, and I love hearing from him. And yeah, I talk to him daily. It's so refreshing to pop open that phone, kind of have a little bit of a summary of what's going on, and kind of relate to what I'm trying to do. Yeah, cyberpunk is peak is one of those like influentially vague statements that I'm going to buy into. I'm just going to have to figure out what you mean, Caden. I like it.
And what's cool, one thing I wanted to also point out with the series, 10 Years of Chrome, is that it's going to be incrementally changing in terms of technology, with book one being starting out very near future. So a lot of the technology that I explore in here is available today.
Okay.
Right. Available right now. And then as we progress through the story in the series, the plan is to eventually go beyond, right, and see things that could be in the future. And that's kind of my goal with the series. Start very familiar and then go a little bit, unfamiliar, where what this could be in the future.
I think that's exciting because you get that's your imagination that's going to be strictly from you, and I get to relate to it. And I feel like, and tell me if I'm wrong, a lot of what you're going to go into, is it going to be based in what exists, kind of taking it farther?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I love that. Absolutely love it. So go ahead.
Josh, I know he just said he pictures the soundtrack to something like Hotline Miami, which is a really fun game, by the way, Hotline Miami. The music that I listen to a lot while writing this thing is by, I don't even know if they still make music or not, but it's an artist named Head Splitter. who makes fantastic cyberpunk kind of deep. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's just really cool bass heavy music that has really like just to me cyberpunk vibes, and it just got me going. Like whenever I was like, there's a few scenes where I read the book myself, reading through it. I just had that music playing in the background to get me like in the scene, in the mood.
Yeah. Head Splitter is going to be what I annoy my family with in the car tomorrow. Can't wait, dude. It's going to be
There's some fun songs in there.
I thought you were about to say Head PE, dude. Have you ever heard of Head PE? Okay, you probably shouldn't look them up around your wife or kids at all. Anywho, yeah, they're not. I was like, there's no way in hell he's about to say Head PE. If you knew who they were, and if anybody in the comments know who's that, it's like there's no influential parts to be gained through those guys. Anywho, listening to Head Splitter right now. Of course you are, Ryan. You get out of here, dude. You're running what? What did you run? 10 miles the other day, and now you're listening to the exact band that we're talking about. Get out of here, dude. Oh, you're right. You know, every time you say something like this, I can't wait to have you on. But like, we still haven't like put a date to it, so we need to get on that. So 3 novels I need to read to best relate or interpret the type of writing and ideas that you write about or find important. I would love to have those for me, just personally.
Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick, which is what the movie Blade Runner is based off of. Snow Crash by Neil Stevenson.
I have that.
That was a insane read, absolutely insane. And then Neuromancer by William Gibson. Okay. And then the 2 books that really inspired me that I tried to kind of mash up was the Dresden Files and Blade Runner. So there's the 2 kind of IPs that I try to mash into this right here. Because I love Dresden Files.
Without being super familiar, I have a gist of what both of those, bring to the table. But without even knowing a lot about either of them, not having read, that makes a lot of sense just based on the reviews and stuff I've heard. I love that. Neuromancer's something I'm very excited. Snow Crash, obviously, I'm looking at it. I just haven't read it yet.
So Neuromancer, I will give a disclaimer though. It took me a little bit to get into it, and not because it wasn't cool. It's just the verbiage was very different, and it feels weird reading it at first. I had to reread the first 50 pages 3 times.
That's how Dune was for me.
But once you get past that, you're straight through it, and it's so much fun.
So excited, dude. So man, I've been pumped for this, and I have to say this has been more of I'm going to take a few shots in the dark with these questions because cyberpunk is not something I'm super familiar with. So I hope it didn't seem that way, but I've learned so much just on this little chat we've had based on your influences and kind of what to expect in the future from your writing, man. And it's really cool. So I'm very excited to see what you do, and I'll be a fan forever, brother. I'll be right there supporting you.
Well, thank you. I'm excited for your work as well. That you got, in the stokes in the fire right now.
Yes, exactly. I think recently writing, and I want to do audiobooks as well. I think that my wife's always cracking jokes or telling me that I have good voices, and I finally pulled the trigger to do some audiobooks. So next month I'm actually getting my first paid audiobook gig. Not telling anybody yet through who it is or whatever yet, but I can't wait to tell. But I'm excited for that. So that'll kind of be my first dive into actually doing something in this community other than interviewing. But writing is still, so writing's still a part of that. Just kind of the way of things happening for me. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate that. But Aaron, dude, this has been absolutely exciting because I've learned more in this talk than I have in quite a few. So cyberpunk, adding stuff to the TBR like Snow Crash immediately, because the way you said it's an insane read. That's really all I have to know. And so much luck, and I hope that October 4th, your release date, goes wonderful and past any expectations.
I'm excited. It's already blown expectations for me. So I'm here. I'm ready
All
for it.
right.
October 4th. It's only 4 days away. Oh my
That's
God.
it. So I'll be tuning on the 3rd for your guys' live, whoever it's with. I can't wait to find out, and I'll be there, dude, because I can't wait to hear more about it. The chat, guys, is blown up, so I really appreciate you guys as well. It always does, and I just it's the most wonderful part of this. Real quick, Cinepoma says, which Blade Runner do you prefer?
2049 is my favorite
2049.
movie, for sure. But I mean, it's so close in terms of the original one by Ridley Scott. I mean, I love that one as well. But Denis Villeneuve, man, he can direct some fun movies. I'll tell you that.
I'm gonna go on a
Dune,
couple.
Arrival. Oh my God, good movies.
This is a rabbit hole. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about, but I will someday. I'll let you know. I'll let you know my thoughts.
Yeah, he's
So
a director. Check him out. Any movie he directs, check it out.
All right, I will, man. Well, hey, Aaron M. Payne. It's weird saying your whole name because I just noticed you was Aaron from Bibliophile, but it's official now. Aaron M. Payne, the author. It's been so exciting talking to you, brother. Very happy for you. Anybody that was here live, chatting away,
Thank you
so much. Such an exciting experience. And tomorrow, I remembered for the first time in ever, I'll be talking with this wonderful guy because he's writing the pits of writing his own stories. And he's got his ups and downs that I can't wait to relate to and talk about. So we will see you guys tomorrow talking with Curran Gill at 8:30 p.m. Aaron, again, dude, thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful night. Thank your family for letting me borrow you. And like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And we'll see you tomorrow at 8:30.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for having me on.
Dude,
And
anytime.
keep reading.
Absolutely.